When I picked up the phone to ask my son Max about the date of his wedding, my daughter-in-law Lena looked straight into my eyes and, with a cold little smile, said, "Oh, we actually got married yesterday. We only invited special people." Those words struck me like a splash of ice water. Special people. For 3 years, I had been the one paying their monthly rent of $500, buying every piece of furniture in their home, and filling their fridge whenever they ran out of food. And yet, I was apparently not one of those special people. I stood frozen in the middle of my own living room, holding the phone that suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, watching my son avoid my gaze while Lena relaxed on the sofa I had bought for them. The soft pink dress I had chosen for her wedding hung uselessly in my closet, along with the new shoes and the illusion that I would be part of the most important day of my only son's life. I had spent $200 on that dress, imagining how nice I would look in Max's wedding photos I would never appear in. For weeks I had planned every detail, even saved up $1,000 to give them as a wedding gift. I had called my sister Diana in Chicago to share the happy news, cleaned my house top to bottom, thinking they might come by afterward to celebrate. But everything collapsed in an instant, with those 4 poisoned words, "Only special people." Max finally looked up, his voice sounding rehearsed as he said, "Mom, it was something intimate, really small, just the 2 of us and the witnesses." But I knew that wasn't true. I saw the photos online, Lena's parents proudly posing beside the bride and groom, her siblings raising glasses of champagne, Lena in her white dress, which I had unknowingly helped pay for with the $800 I'd given her just a month earlier for personal expenses. I saw everything I was never supposed to see. A week later, exactly 7 days after that humiliation, Lena called me again, but her tone was completely different. Gone was the confident woman who had so easily excluded me from her wedding. Now her voice trembled, desperate, almost pleading. "Renata, the rent is late. The landlord says if we don't pay this week, he'll evict us. You forgot to send the transfer." Her voice shook slightly, as if her world was about to collapse. I stayed silent for a few seconds, remembering all the times I had rushed to the bank to make that very transfer. All the times I had cancelled my own plans just to make sure they had a roof over their heads. All the times I'd eaten beans and rice so they could have what they wanted. And now, after cutting me out of the most important moment of their lives, they dared to call me as though nothing had happened. "Lena," I said, my voice calmer than I expected. "Didn't I warn you that I only help special people?" The silence on the other end was so deep, I could hear my own heartbeat. For the first time in years, it wasn't me who was trembling, it was her. "Renata, I don't understand," she stammered. "We've always been special to you. You're like a second mother to me." Lies. All lies. Wrapped in that sweet tone she only used when she wanted something. The same voice she'd used to ask me for money, for the dress, the honeymoon, the rings, all things I'd helped pay for without realizing I'd never even see the ceremony where they were exchanged. For years, I had lived with the constant feeling of walking on eggshells, measuring every word, every gesture, every gift, hoping to earn even a small piece of affection from my own son. I had been the perfect mother, the accommodating mother-in-law, the quiet provider who never complained, even when they treated me like I was invisible. But that phrase, "only special people," awoke something inside me that had been asleep for far too long. I started calculating in my head how much I had spent on them during those 3 years. Rent, food, presents, emergencies, little whims, the total easily exceeded $20,000. $20,000 that had come out of my retirement fund, my savings, and the money my late husband had left so I could spend my final years in peace. And what was all that for? To be treated like a stranger on my own son's wedding day. That night, after hanging up the phone, I sat on the edge of my bed and cried. But the tears weren't born of sadness, they were born of anger, frustration, and years of silent humiliation. I cried for every time they made me feel like my love was a burden, my presence an inconvenience, and my money the only thing I had to offer. I cried for the foolish mother I had been, for the woman who had lost herself, trying to make herself indispensable to people who saw her as completely dispensable. When I woke up the next morning, something inside me had changed. It wasn't just the sting of betrayal anymore, it was something deeper, colder, sharper. I stood before the mirror in the bathroom and looked at my reflection. The same tired eyes, the same wrinkles, each one a story of years spent giving love without receiving it back. But this time, there was something new in my gaze, a hardness I didn't recognize, a determination buried for far too long. I went to the kitchen and brewed coffee, just as I had done every morning for 40 years. But this time, I didn't reach for my phone to call Max and ask how he'd slept. I didn't wait for a text message full of excuses or false affection. For the first time in a very long time, I was my own first thought of the day. I sat at the same table where I had spent countless hours planning surprises for them, counting bills for their expenses, and silently crying when they dismissed me. But now, that table would witness something entirely different. I pulled out my checkbook and bank statements and started writing down numbers. I needed to see, in black and white, the extent of my own foolishness. Monthly rent, $500 multiplied by 36 months, $18,000. Groceries and supplies, about $200 a month, another $7,200. Birthday, Christmas, and anniversary gifts, at least $3,000. Lena's medical emergencies, $800. The car loan they never paid back, $2,500. Air conditioner repair in their apartment, $600. Living room furniture, $1,200. $33,400. That was the exact price of my misplaced generosity. $33,400 wasted, taken from my husband's inheritance, from my pension, from decades of careful saving and honest work. All that money thrown away to keep two grown adults comfortable, adults who couldn't even show me basic respect. The phone rang, and I saw Max's name flash across the screen. Normally, my heart would have raced, hoping it was an apology, a chance to fix things. But this time, I let it ring, once, twice, 3 times, until it went silent. 10 minutes later, it rang again. Lena, I ignored it too. Then came a text from Max. Mom, please answer. We need to talk. I deleted it without replying. At 2 in the afternoon, I decided to go for a walk, the first walk I had taken in months without a reason tied to them. Usually, it was to go to the bank for transfers, the supermarket to buy something for their pantry, or the pharmacy for Lena's medicine. But today, I walked simply because I wanted to. As I passed the park where I used to take Max as a little boy, I remembered that sweet child who used to hug me tightly and say I was the best mom in the world. When had that little boy turned into a man who saw me as nothing more than an ATM with feelings? When did I start confusing love with money? When did I start believing I had to buy my own son's affection?